Hello, friends, and welcome back to Sunshine Strategies Radio. My name is Jen McMillin, and I am your host, as well as the founder of Sunshine Strategies, a organization that provides rural support to downstate Illinois. So today feels like another one of those days where history and headlines continue to crash into each other. Earlier this week, it was Constitution Day on Wednesday, which always makes me think about the magic of our founding documents. Not as dusty relics, but as living invitations for ordinary people to step up and serve. That reminder hit even harder this week with the news of former Illinois Governor Jim Edgar's passing. He lived that invitation, not just as a politician, but as a statesman. His life is proof that our democracy doesn't survive on autopilot. It survives because citizens decide to take responsibility for their communities. And so, before we look at this week's top news stories, I want you to keep that frame in mind. Democracy only works if we, the people, make it work. If you've been alive this past week, you'll notice that we've been talking a lot about the First Amendment and about our constitutions and all of our freedoms as Americans lately, which is convenient because on Wednesday, it was Constitution Day. And instead of rehashing what our American Constitution is, because I do already have an episode on the Constitution, I want to focus on what I think makes the founding documents magical. That may sound like an odd word to describe parchment and ink, but I think it's the right adjective. Because what our founders created in 1787 wasn't just law, it was a living invitation, a way for ordinary people to take responsibility for extraordinary things, a framework that said, you too can lead, you too can shape your community, you too have a voice. But here's the catch: the Constitution only works if we use it. It only works if citizens step up. And that's why I have been thinking of former Governor Jim Edgar this whole week. While I didn't have the opportunity to know him personally, I have always been impressed with his dedication to helping the people of Illinois, serving with integrity, pragmatism, and respect. And if you know my state's track record on governors, you know how truly remarkable that is here in Illinois. Governor Edgar, in my view, was able to lead a challenging state in difficult times because he had practiced democracy from the ground up. He didn't wait until retirement to learn politics on the fly. He started young, elected Coles County clerk at age 27. And as governor of Illinois, he became known for balancing budgets without reckless tax hikes, for respecting bipartisan compromise, and for putting people above party. He was more than a public servant. He was a statesman. Now, here's the real lesson for us. Jim Edgar started local. He proved that you don't have to be born into power to serve. You just have to answer the call when it comes. And I don't know about you, but I am hearing that call ringing loud and clear right now. Petition season is open here in Illinois, and if you've ever thought about stepping into public service, whether it's county clerk, county board, or even school board, there's still time. These roles may look small, but each one carries a piece of that magic that makes democracy real. But what if you can't or don't want to run for office? That doesn't mean that your role as a citizen ends. Quite the opposite. Citizenship is not a spectator sport, because citizenship is not a spectator sport. It's showing up at a school board meeting. It's writing a letter to your representative. It's using your freedom of speech responsibly and courageously to advocate for justice, truth, and dignity. And after recent events, it's more important than ever to remember that speech can shape the culture that we live in. Words can build trust or they can corrode it. They can protect democracy or they can endanger it. So, whether you're running for office or simply raising your voice, you matter. Your role as a citizen matters. So, as we are celebrating the Constitution this week, we have to remember it's not self executing. It requires guardians, it requires builders, it requires us. So, if you've ever thought someone should do something, maybe that someone is you. Pick up a petition, run for school board, or speak up where you are as a citizen with courage and care. Because our Constitution still works, but only if we do. And there's good news. There is still plenty of spaces available for you to run here in central Illinois. If you are nearby to where I live here in Macon County, I am happy to report that you still can get a petition. So all of these positions locally have a small signature requirement, so it won't even take you that long to fill out your petitions. So in my home county of Macon, we're still looking for candidates for treasurer, sheriff, regional superintendent of schools, as well as several county board seats. And up north in McLean County, Bloomington, Illinois, there's still a candidate needed for county clerk and treasurer. Now, just a little bit further south from McLean is Logan County. They're looking for anyone interested in serving on the Lincoln City Council, on the Logan County Board, and their local school board. And I cannot forget about one of my favorites, Christian County. They are looking for a county clerk, circuit clerk, treasurer, sheriff, and county board candidates. So again, if you've ever considered it, let me know. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, and you might be featured on an upcoming episode. Now let's pivot into what's actually happening in the country right now. These aren't the loudest headlines, but they're the ones I think matter for families, neighbors, and anyone who believes in democracy. Because the choices being made in Congress, in our communities, and even here in cyberspace, they ripple out to all of us. So here are 3 stories that you might have missed this week, but shouldn't. First, Congress is scrambling to avoid a government shutdown. Republicans in the House are pushing a continuing resolution to keep the government funded past October 1. The current proposal extends existing funding levels through November 21st and includes millions for extra security for Congress, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court, which is a response in part to the growing tensions following the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. So this matters because if Congress doesn't pass something, there could be shutdowns again, which disrupt all sorts of federal functions, everything from national parks to government aid. Politics also look ugly here. Negotiations are fragile, party fissures are very visible on both the left and the right, and consequences for voters could be real and immediate. So we'll be watching this story closely. The second story I want to bring to you is there is a deepening drought and rising wildfire risk here in the Northeast. Drought conditions in the Northeast United States have worsened sharply. We're even seeing drought conditions here in central Illinois. Nearly 11 million people are now at risk. Parts of New York, Maine, and other northeastern states are in a moderate to severe drought. Fire risk has increased, with dry conditions making even smaller fires harder to control. So, this could hit agriculture, water supplies, and public health. People may face restrictions on their water usage, and firefighting resources could be stretched thin. Also, it's a reminder that climate effects aren't just a future problem. They are here right now and escalating outside of the usual Western wildfire zones. And finally, this last story I wanted to bring to you is cybersecurity and privacy developments. There is a new risk of ransomware and public pushback on law changes. So, a ransomware attack in Uvalde, Texas, shut down school operations for an entire week. And this has caused some proposed changes to the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act, or CISA, including removing some liability protections and FOIA exemptions. And it's being hotly debated. Data breaches are piling up. Another example is in Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office, where that was found to leak financial audits and internal documents. So, why does this matter so much? As more institutions, like schools and local governments, get hit, the fallout to these cyber attacks are not just about lost data. It affects the trust, costs, identity theft, operations, and even safety. And now, legal changes to how companies are protected or held responsible could change how cybersecurity is enforced, who cooperates, and how transparent things really are. So, another great story for us to keep an eye on. So, there you have it. A possible government shutdown avoided for now, a northeastern drought turning into a wildfire risk, and a fresh wave of cybersecurity fights that could shape how safe our schools, cities, and data really are. Each of these stories circle back to the same idea that we started with. Democracy is not magic in a vacuum. It's magic because ordinary people, like you and me, take on responsibility. Whether it's signing a petition, serving on a school board, or like Governor Edgar, dedicating a lifetime to public service. So if you're waiting for a sign to get involved, this is it. There's still time. There is still a need. And every act of service adds one more thread to the fabric of our democracy. Thank you so much for listening to Sunshine Strategies Radio. Until next time, keep shining a light, keep building community, and keep practicing democracy every single day. See you next time.